Heartwarming twist, poor girl discovers amazing connection with single dad CEO on blind date. You won't believe what happens next. Emma slipped on her worn-out shoes, the familiar creak echoing in her cramped apartment. Every morning was the same, she battled the sticky note reminder on the fridge that read, "Keep going." As she prepared to face the day ahead, the local diner welcomed her with the comforting hum of coffee machines and clinking dishes, a bittersweet reminder of stability amidst chaos. At 28, life had tossed her into the demanding role of guardian for her younger siblings after their mother's sudden passing. She often gazed out at the extravagant homes of her wealthy neighbors, their towers of granite and glass mocking her modest existence. Invisible and underestimated, she dreamed of a better life, one where her family could emerge from beneath the weight of hardship. Then came the evening of her blind date, set up by a mutual friend. Emma dressed in her best and uncomplicated but elegant dress that hugged her curves just right. Her heartbeat quickened with the weight of expectation, nervous energy crackling through her. When she first saw Daniel, his warm smile and kind eyes made her doubts fade momentarily. The initial awkwardness melted away as they exchanged stories, laughter filling the air with golden warmth. They both came alive talking about their families, her siblings, his daughter, Sophie, and shared the daily struggles of balancing love and responsibility. For the first time in ages, Emma felt seen, and she couldn't help but relish the connection blossoming between them. As days turned into months, their relationship deepened. Amid stolen kisses and heart-to-heart talks, Emma found herself entranced by the charismatic single dad who somehow juggled a burgeoning tech startup while being a devoted father. Yet, as she rejoiced in their romance, the stark contrast of their worlds loomed ever large. Daniel faced his own battles, full of pressure from peers who whispered about his commitment to family over CEO accolades. It was a world Emma could only catch glimpses of, a demanding pace and an elitist whisper that felt so foreign. The real turning point came one fateful night at a community fundraiser. Surrounded by clinking glasses and conversations that flowed like fine wine, Emma caught her breath. Her heart sank when a dismissive remark reached her ears about her modest upbringing. In an attempt to blend in, she felt the weight of their judgment crashing down on her, igniting old insecurities. Daniel, sensing the shift, needed to confront the barriers they faced. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The crowd surged with murmurs, and Daniel's voice echoed as he stepped forward. "Emma is more than just a waitress, her resilience defines her." His words sliced through the superficial atmosphere, sparking the unsettling realization that love transcended their social divide. As whispers transformed into silence, they locked eyes, a moment thick with emotion hanging between them. No longer mere labels, they stood as testaments to hard work and love. But as the crowd buzzed with uncertainty, Emma felt that in this act of defiance, a chasm had formed. Would they bridge it together or be torn apart by the very judgment that sought to keep them at bay? The air crackled with anticipation, leaving them confronting the truth of who they were: not just a single dad and a waitress, but two souls yearning for something more, battling against the tides of what society deemed acceptable. As the evening wore on, their future teetered on the knife's edge of possibility, aching for resolution. Emma felt the weight of Daniel's gaze as he stepped closer, the warmth of his presence comforting her amidst the cold, disapproving murmurs of the crowd. She could see the intensity in his eyes, a fierce determination that made her heart leap. He wasn't backing down, he was fighting for her. "I know what people are saying," Emma whispered, taking a small step backward, letting her insecurities spill out. "They see a waitress and a CEO like I'm some kind of charity case." "Listen to me," Daniel responded, his voice steady, cutting through the jagged edges of doubt. "Your worth isn't defined by your job or what others think. You have a story that inspires me. They don't know you like I do. The soft glow of chandelier lights flickered around them, but it was the electricity between them that mattered. Emma clenched her fists, torn between pride and an overwhelming sense of inadequacy. Would she ever truly fit into his world? Around them, discussions buzzed like angry bees, their judgmental whispers ricocheting painfully in her ears. Before she could respond, Daniel held her hands tightly, grounding her. Emma, I'm with you. Whatever it takes. I don't care what they think. The sincerity in his tone wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. In that moment, Emma realized that rather than shrink away, she had to stand tall. You're right, she stated, shaky but resolute. I deserve to be here. We deserve to be together. Their eyes locked, and something shifted in the air. The tension twisted into something more potent, a promise. That promise seemed to ripple out around them, even drawing in the reluctant attention of those nearby. Sophie, Daniel's daughter, appeared at his side then, her eyes wide with curiosity. At just 8 years old, she carried her own innocence and wisdom. Are you two okay? She asked, her small voice piercing the awkwardness. Yeah, sweetheart. Just having a grown-up conversation, Daniel replied, ruffling her hair. It reminded Emma of how familial joy could break barriers, how love could shine even under judgmental gazes. As the evening progressed, Daniel's supportive presence steadied Emma's worries. They mingled around the room, but what had once felt daunting now felt like a shared venture. Together, they navigated the conversations, exchanging laughter and comments. With each chuckle and smile, it felt like they were carving a little corner of acceptance for themselves amidst the judgment. But as they left the fundraiser, the fresh night air hit with an unsettling chill. Emma's heart raced with excitement but also uncertainty. What if they're right? She muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. What do you mean? Daniel replied, glancing over, concern etched on his face. What if I can't keep up? What if they never accept me? Emma's fear pooled in her stomach, tangling with the hope he had sparked earlier. Daniel stopped walking, turning to face her fully. Emma, you don't need to earn anyone's approval. You are enough, just as you are. And we will figure this out together. Her pulse quickened at his words, filled with warmth and promise. Yet, hidden within that reassurance, an unsettling doubt lingered. Could love withstand the storm brewing outside their own little bubble? Just then, Emma spotted a sleek black car pulling up at the curb. As a man in a tailored suit stepped out, she felt a chill run through her. A face from Daniel's world, someone she recognized from the gatherings she had tried to avoid. This was someone who would know her place, and it certainly wasn't he here with Daniel. Who's that? She asked, her heart pounding again. Daniel's gaze flicked to the newcomer, tension shifting through him like cold air sweeping in. That's someone from my team, he said cautiously. We need to be prepared for what's coming. Emma stared at the man approaching, the atmosphere suddenly thick with uncertainty. Could love truly flourish in an environment cloaked in judgment? Emma took a deep breath, staring at the chasm of doubt ahead of her. Are we ready for this? She asked, anxiety dancing in her chest. Daniel's grip tightened around her hand. Together, always together, he assured her, but doubt hung unspoken between them. What would the next moment hold? The man approached with a confident stride, his sharp features and tailored suit radiating authority. Emma's heart raced. She could feel the weight of judgment tugging at her again. With each step he took, her insecurities flared like a lit match in a dark room. Emma, just breathe, Daniel said softly, squeezing her hand, but his eyes were fixed on the man now crossing the last few feet to their side. Hi, Daniel, the man greeted. His voice was smooth, but there was a hint of condescension that made Emma bristle. I didn't expect to see you here. Quite an interesting choice of date. What followed felt like a cold wind crashing against a warm fire. Each word dripped with a veiled criticism. Emma felt like a kid caught in a lie, exposed to a world far removed from her own when she replied, "I am as someone special," Daniel cut in sharply, the protective tone in his voice rising above the chill. "You're just a little out of touch with what really matters, Eric." Emma's heart fluttered. Daniel had her back, even in the face of condescension. But with Eric's dismissive glare lingering, she felt naked and small. Social etiquette didn't matter here, emotions ruled. Doubts swarmed around her head, a parade of insecurities marching in unison. Was she really capable of being here, standing next to Daniel? Eric leaned in closer, as if scrutinizing her, searching for any imperfection. "Nice to meet you, Emma. Must be exciting to step into such a glamorous life," he replied, his tone laced with sarcasm. Emma felt Daniel's body tense beside her. She fought the urge to shrink under Eric's gaze. "It is exciting every moment of it," Emma responded, trying to hang on to her voice. "I believe every relationship deserves a chance, regardless of their backgrounds." Eric raised an eyebrow, obviously intrigued but clearly not impressed. "That's one way to look at it," he said, dismissively waving her statement away. "And I admire your spirit, but I hope you know what you're getting yourself into." "Enough." Daniel's voice was sharp, slicing through the tension like a knife. "Emma is worth my time and respect. You do well to remember that." Emma's heart soared. Here was Daniel, protecting her, standing up not just for himself but their relationship. She wasn't sure if they could navigate stormy waters together, but the way Daniel faced Eric gave her a glimmer of hope. Suddenly Sophie tugged on Daniel's suit. "Can we go home now, Daddy? I wanna play." The innocence in her voice painted a stark contrast to the tension that had filled the air. Daniel knelt down beside Sophie, his expression softening as he focused on her. "Soon, honey. We just need to say goodbye." Emma watched them, feeling a swell of love in her chest. Maybe there was a way through this, a way to blend their worlds. "I'm proud to be here with Daniel and Sophie," she said firmly, her voice growing stronger even as doubt still clung to her. Eric's expression twisted slightly, caught off guard. "Interesting perspective, Emma. Let us see how long that lasts." The comment hung heavy in the air, but Daniel's hand gripped hers tighter, unyielding. "You'll see," he replied, determination etched across his face. "She's not going anywhere." With that, they turned, leaving Eric standing in the cold, judgmental presence of the gala. As they walked towards the car, Emma felt a mix of relief and exhilaration surging through her. "Can we really do this?" she murmured, glancing sideways at Daniel. "Facing people like him?" Daniel's smile broke through her fears. "We can, as long as we're together. We'll build our own world, piece by piece." As they reached the car, Sophie nestled between them with a giggle, suddenly lightening the mood. Emma watched Daniel's eyes sparkle with love and compassion for his daughter. In that moment, she discovered a flicker of hope, a possibility of bridging their worlds despite the looming storm. But as she settled into the car, she felt a nagging sense of something deeper just lurking beneath the surface. Could she ever truly belong? And what other obstacles awaited them on this journey? "Just remember," Daniel said, catching her eye as they drove off. "Every love story has its challenges." Emma nodded, but doubt lingered. Could she handle what lay ahead? Just outside the reach of their new beginnings, an unexpected text buzzed in her pocket, drawing her attention. As she glanced down, her pulse quickened. It was from someone she hadn't heard from in years, a voice from her past resurfacing exactly when she was beginning to forge a new future. How would that change everything? Emma's heart raced as she read the name on the screen. It was Jack, her childhood friend, the boy who had stood by her side through thick and thin, right before he moved away. They had shared secrets, dreams, and even silly fights, only to become strangers over time. But the memories flooded back relentlessly, each one sharper than the last. "Everything okay?" Daniel asked, glancing at her with concern as they navigated the winding roads away from the gala. Sophie was obliviously humming a tune from her favorite cartoon in the back seat, bringing a sense of normalcy that felt slightly out of reach. "Jack," Emma whispered, still staring at the text. It was simple, just a few words, but it unlocked a trove of emotions she thought she had buried. "He wants to meet up." For a heartbeat, tension filled the car. Daniel's brow furrowed while Sophie paused in her singing, sensing a shift. "Jack." Daniel's voice was cautious. "The same Jack from when you were kids?" Emma nodded, feeling the weight of the past settle heavily over her. "Yeah. We were really close. I didn't expect to hear from him." She watched Daniel's expression turn contemplative. "Did something happen?" There was carefully masked concern in his voice. "I mean, is he still a part of your life?" She shook her head slowly, feeling a pang of guilt wash over her. "Not really. We lost touch after he moved. Seeing his name again, it just brought back so many memories." Sophie, sensing it was an adult conversation and eager to insert herself back into the fun, piped up, "Can I see the message, Mommy?" Emma turned and handed her the phone. Sophie squinted at the screen, her tiny fingers tapping on the letters. "What does he say?" Daniel's eyes were sharp on Emma, searching for something between the lines, an unspoken tension lingering in the air. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know," Emma admitted, her voice shaking slightly. "Part of me wants to meet him to find out what he has been up to, but I don't want to risk." She trailed off, glancing at Sophie before finishing, "risk losing what we're building here." Daniel reached out, covering her hand on the console. "You have to follow your heart. If he is part of your past, you should decide what that means for your future." His gaze shifted to the road, but she could feel the weight of his words hanging in the air. As the car rolled into their driveway, Emma's mind was swirling. The familiar pressure of doubt gripped her again. Did seeing Jack really mean she was ready to move on, or would it threaten everything she'd begun to cherish with Daniel and Sophie? Stepping out of the car, she stood for a moment, wrestling with the tangled emotions swirling in her chest. Sophie darted ahead, laughing as she raced toward the front door, while Daniel lingered beside her, waiting. "Do you remember Jack?" Emma finally asked, uncertain if he ever even knew how significant that connection was. "Only what you've told me," he replied softly, his eyes steady. "But if seeing him has an effect on you, we need to talk about it. I want you to know that I'm here." The door creaked open, and the scent of home enveloped them. The warmth seemed to soothe Emma for just a second, but then it all felt so heavy again. Could she risk going back, even just for a moment? As they stepped inside, Sophie skipped back to them, her face lit with innocence. "Can we have hot chocolate?" The light in her daughter's eyes reminded Emma of the simple joys. Yet, in the back of her mind lingered Jack's text and what it could mean. "Of course." Daniel replied with a grin, easing the tension. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the calm before another storm. As she took off her coat, the phone vibrated again in her pocket. Another message from Jack flashed on the screen, making her heart leap. She hesitated, breath caught in her throat. What would she say? And more importantly, what did this choice mean for the life she was trying to build? Could this be the fork in the road that would change everything? Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady the racing thoughts swirling in her head. The soft beep of her phone felt like an alarm, demanding her attention. She glanced at Sophie, who was eagerly chatting away about the colors of her hot chocolate, blissfully unaware of the internal battle Emma was facing. Then her gaze shifted back to the screen. Jack's name stared back at her, the unlikeliest of specters from her past. "Mommy, are you okay?" Sophie asked, her sweet voice slicing through the fog. Emma forced a smile, crouching down to her daughter's eye level. "Of course, sweet pea. Just thinking about some old memories." Daniel appeared from the kitchen, 2 steaming mugs in hand. "Hot chocolate time," he announced brightly, his presence a comforting balm. Emma's heart swelled slightly as she watched him interact with Sophie, the 3 of them together creating a perfect moment. Yet, her mind kept racing back to the text. Maybe we should just ignore it, she suggested lightly, hoping the idea could settle into her thoughts. But even as the words left her lips, she felt a pang of regret. Ignoring Jack felt like a betrayal to her younger self, that girl who had once laughed and cried alongside him. What if? Emma began, her voice barely above a whisper, what if I do want to see him? The question hung in the air, thick with implications. Daniel's expression shifted, his brow furrowing again. Then you should go, he said gently, yet there was a steeliness in his tone that suggested he knew the depth of what she was considering. But you need to be honest with yourself about what you want. No half measures. Emma nodded, her heart pounding. But what if I see him and things aren't the same? What if it brings back too many feelings? It's so complicated. Daniel set the mugs down and walked over to her. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. Life is complicated, Emma. What matters is how we choose to move forward. You can't let fear keep you from exploring something that's a part of who you are. His words resonated deeply, sending shivers down her spine. The thought of meeting Jack again conjured images of their childhood laughter, impromptu adventures that filled her heart with light. But there was another nagging question: would rekindling that friendship mean unraveling the life she had so carefully built with Daniel and Sophie? Emma's phone buzzed again, and she instinctively glanced at it. Another message from Jack: it's been so long. I'd love to catch up, see how life's treating you. A mix of excitement and trepidation coursed through her veins. What had Jack become? Was he still that goofy boy who had made her laugh during the hard days, or had time reshaped him into someone unrecognizable? Just then, Sophie pulled her back to reality, her voice filled with glee as she took a sip of her hot chocolate. Yum! This is the best! Sophie exclaimed, her delight infectious. Emma smiled, feeling warmth seep back into her heart. She looked up at Daniel. What if he's not what I remember? What if this whole thing is a mistake? His expression softened. Then you'll have closure. You'll know, and that knowledge could help you move forward. Emma picked up her mug, staring down at the swirling chocolate inside. The choice loomed before her like a shadow. Meeting Jack could open doors to the past she was hesitant to cross. But maybe, just maybe, it could also provide the clarity she desperately needed. With trembling hands, she typed out a reply: I'd love to meet up. When and where? As she hit send, a thrill shot through her. It felt like a leap into the unknown. Mommy, can we make cookies too? Sophie asked, interrupting her thoughts once more. Of course. Let us bake some happiness, she replied, the tension starting to ebb away, even as uncertainty lingered. But with every passing moment, she felt closer to a decision that could redefine everything. Just then, another vibration. Jack had replied quickly, how about tomorrow? It'll be just like old times. Emma's heart raced. Tomorrow? She had less time to prepare. Was she ready for this? Daniel? She started, unsure of how to voice the turmoil inside her. What if? But before she could complete the thought, a loud knock echoed through the house. Emma froze, glancing at Daniel, who met her gaze with a look of surprise. Who could that be? He asked, his brow furrowing once again. The heavy air thickened with questions. The moment felt surreal, as if the universe itself was shifting, preparing her for something big. What lay beyond the door? Emma's pulse quickened as the knock echoed again, a sharp sound that broke through the cozy atmosphere of their living room. Daniel stood beside her, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. The world outside felt suddenly charged, as if every decision she had made hung in the balance, waiting for her to respond. Can you get it? Sophie piped up, bouncing slightly on her toes, excitement in her eyes. Emma nodded absent-mindedly, her mind racing. Who could be here at this hour? Did she want to face whatever or whoever it was, with all that was swirling within her? Taking a breath, she walked slowly to the door, each step heavy with anticipation. As she reached for the handle, another wave of anxiety surged through her. She hesitated just for a moment, imagining every possible scenario. What if it was someone from her past? What if it was Jack? What if it wasn't he? "Are you okay, Mommy?" Sophie whispered, peering around her. Emma forced a smile, unfastening the door with a deliberate motion. As she swung it open, it took her a split second to process the figure standing before her. Jack. Her voice barely reached a whisper, as if saying his name would shatter the moment. He stood there with a friendly smile, a bit older than she remembered but undeniably familiar. His hair was tousled, and his eyes sparkled with a warmth that had once felt so comforting. For a moment, all the doubts washed away, leaving only that intoxicating rush of nostalgia. "Hey, Emma," he said, his tone light yet carrying an undertone of seriousness. "I hope I'm not interrupting. I didn't expect to see you so soon." Daniel appeared behind her, and Emma felt a rush of protectiveness. Hi," she stammered, glancing back at Daniel who was now assessing the situation, a mix of curiosity and tension etched on his face. "Is this a bad time?" Jack asked, glancing between the two of them, uncertainty flickering in his smile. No. It's just unexpected," Emma managed, the weight of the moment settling like a thick fog. "We were just making cookies." The thought of her ordinary life contrasted sharply with the extraordinary presence of Jack at her door. "Cookies, huh?" His smile widened, cracking through the weight hovering in the air. "I came at a good time then." Sophie clapped her hands. "Mommy, can we make some for Jack?" Emma felt her heart warm at Sophie's innocent joy, the way she sought to include. It was an innocent invitation that hung between all of them now, an offer heavier with implications than any of them could understand. "Sure," Emma said, unable to suppress a smile. "Come on in." As Emma stepped aside to let him enter, she caught Daniel's eye, searching for reassurance. His expression was unreadable, though Emma sensed a tension building. Jack walked in, looking around as if he were soaking in the details of her life, his childhood friend turned mother, with a family and a home that was a world apart from their last days together. "I can help with the cookies too. Hope you don't mind a little extra hands-on help." Jack joked, but Emma could hear a nervous undertone there. He wanted to belong, but how much had changed since those carefree days? "Sure, your expertise would be appreciated. I'm sure we could use some fun," Emma replied, though her heart whispered uncertainty. The kitchen felt warmer with the three of them moving around. They laughed nervously, stole smiles, and tried to act normal, even as a million unspoken words lingered in the space around them. Emma kept catching glimpses of Jack when he thought she wasn't, he looking, his hands nimble, his laughter deep as they worked. Yet beneath the surface of these bright moments, Emma felt the weight of her choice pressing in. With every giggle from Sophie and every glance she exchanged with Jack, she felt the walls of her life shift. Meeting Jack had already begun to awaken old emotions, and the clock was ticking down to tomorrow's more significant meeting. What did that mean for her carefully crafted world? As the sweet smell of baking cookies filled the air, she realized this unexpected moment might not only be a reunion, but a crossroads, shifting paths ahead in ways she could never foresee. And just as she processed this thought, Jack turned, his eyes catching hers. "You know, I always pictured this moment differently," he said softly, a hint of longing in his voice. Emma held her breath. What did he mean? The door had opened to a past she thought was behind her, but now, she faced the terrifying possibility of what lay ahead. What had she really invited into her home? The kitchen hummed with laughter and the soft clinking of spoons against mixing bowls, but Emma felt like she was navigating a world filled with landmines. Every little laugh from Sophie felt like a reminder of the innocence she was trying to protect, while Jack's presence stirred emotions she had thought buried. She turned her focus to the dough, pushing and shaping it with her hands, as if trying to mold her life back into its previous form. Jack sidled up beside her, his fingers lightly dusting flour across the counter. So, how many cookies do you think we'll make? Enough for a small army? His eyes sparkled with mischief. Emma chuckled, her heart rate stabilizing a touch. Maybe enough for a small army of hungry 5-year-olds. Good. I hope they have strong wills because you can never have just one cookie, he shot back, grinning. There was a lightness in Jack's banter that tugged at something inside Emma. She couldn't help but smile back, feeling that strange, comforting pull of familiarity. But then she glanced at Daniel, who stood at the sink, his back turned to them, washing dishes quietly. The joy that had flickered between her and Jack felt charged now, almost inappropriate, in the same space where Daniel was trying to navigate this new, uninvited storm. Jack, she said, turning to face him directly, the weight of her words filling the space between them, what brings you back now? After all this time? Jack paused, his smile fading slightly as he rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. You know, I didn't plan this. Life sort of led me here. He hesitated, then added, I missed home. Missed people. And you were always someone special to me. Emma's heart skipped a beat, but she stayed composed. This place looks different, right? She gestured around her kitchen. Life moves on without you knowing sometimes. Yeah. It really does, he agreed, but something in his eyes hinted at unvoiced thoughts. Sophie announced her excitement by popping up beside them, the wide grin on her face brightening the tension. Can we add chocolate chips, please? Of course. Emma laughed, grateful for the distraction. Let us turn them into the best cookies ever. Jack leaned over, his shoulder brushing against Emma's, and began to pull out chocolate chips from the pantry. Need help reaching those? He joked, igniting a familiar spark. But just then, Daniel turned around, confrontation clear on his face. Sophie, why don't you go wash your hands? We'll need a messy chef soon. His tone was casual, but Emma recognized the sharp edge beneath it. Sophie skipped off, leaving Emma and Jack in silence for a moment. Jack cleared his throat, and Emma's heart sank at the thought of what lay ahead. Why had she opened that door? Was she ready to re-examine the past, and worse, the complicated feelings for Jack? What are we really doing here, Emma? Jack's voice dropped, low and serious, cutting through the banter. I'm scared I'm crossing boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. Emma looked into his eyes, searching for honesty. Me too. But I don't know how to turn back the clock. There was a moment of understanding between them, tangled with unanswered questions. The air felt thick with possibilities they hadn't been ready to face. As Sophie returned, eyes sparkling with joy, Emma felt the shift, all her previous resolutions flickering like burnt-out lights. What if the door had swung wide open and with it, her heart? Cookies ready in no time. Sophie cheered, oblivious to the deeper conversation that lingered just beneath the surface. Emma's mind raced. If Jack was back, could that change everything she had worked so hard to build? And what if Daniel started noticing the cracks forming? Just as uncertainty flooded her thoughts, Jack leaned closer, lowering his voice. Can we talk about this later? Just us. Emma's breath hitched. What lay ahead would demand courage she wasn't sure she possessed. Okay, she managed, her mind already roaring with doubts. But as they mixed the dough, Emma realized only one thing for certain, she had opened a door she might never be able to close. And the crisp sound of the timer buzzing brought her back, but now, she felt as if she stood at a cliff wondering, daring to leap into unknown waters. Would she find herself afloat, or would it drown her? With everything hanging in the balance, she could only hope the next decision wouldn't fracture what remained of her fragile family. What would happen when tomorrow's meeting arrived, and the truth unraveled? The timer dinged, snapping Emma from her swirling thoughts. She pulled cookies from the oven, the warm scent filling the kitchen, mingling with the tension still hanging in the air. Sophie bounced back to the counter, her little hands clapping in delight at the golden brown treats. Can I have one now? Sophie beamed up at Emma, eyes wide with eager anticipation. Emma chuckled, her heart softening at the sight of her daughter's joy. Wait a second. We have to let them cool or we'll burn our little tongues. Okay, Sophie grinned. She leaned against the counter, swinging her legs, seemingly unaware of the undercurrents shifting among the adults. Perfectly timed distraction, Jack muttered, a flicker of relief passing over his face as he met Emma's gaze. I guess we're cookie bakers and babysitters now. They both shared a laugh, easing some of the heaviness. But as they turned to watch Sophie's antics, Emma felt the familiar weight of uncertainty return. What had she started with Jack's reappearance? Daniel, still at the sink, finished rinsing dishes and wiped his hands on a towel. I hope we have enough milk for those cookies, he said evenly, his gaze flickering between Emma and Jack, clearly trying to gauge the dynamics in the room. There's always enough milk. Sophie exclaimed, wiggling with excitement. Right, Mommy? Emma forced a smile, nodding. Of course. Milk and cookies go hand in hand. Let us get everything set up for a cookie party. Sophie clapped, and Jack stepped back slightly, hands raised in playful surrender. I'll be the official cookie taste tester, he joked. Not fair. Sophie protested, sticking her tongue out at him. Emma took the opportunity to squeeze Jack's arm lightly, teasing, you better save some for us, Cookie Monster. Jack grinned, but there was something deeper lingering in his eyes as they shared that moment. Emma felt a rush of emotions flood over her: nostalgia, fear, but also hope that this would somehow turn out okay. As they gathered plates and milk from the refrigerator, the laughter flowed more freely, slowly erasing the weight of the earlier exchange. But Emma was painfully aware that things had shifted. Maybe it was just a matter of time before their paths would converge once more, leading to conversations that could change everything. Let's get those cookies plated, she encouraged, and they all fell into motion, a chaotic but joyful flurry of activity. Jack moved close again, this time deliberately avoiding eye contact with Daniel. Later, then. He whispered, his voice low, urgent. Emma's heart raced at the thought. Was she brave enough to confront what lay ahead? Yes, she whispered back, trying to sound more confident than she felt. But in her chest, the uncertainty pulsed louder than ever. Can we eat now? Sophie bubbled, cutting through their shared connection. Definitely. Emma laughed, trying to bury her trepidation beneath a bright facade. She stepped into the moment, focusing on Sophie's laughter and Jack's playful jabs. Right now, she could savor the happiness radiating in this small space. But as the cookies were devoured, Emma felt the clock ticking. It wouldn't be long before they had to face the realities lingering unspoken. Could they navigate this new landscape together, or would old wounds resurface? As the plates emptied, her mind wrestled with the question, how could she protect the fragile stability of her family while also exploring the rekindled flame with Jack? And just before they celebrated their final cookie, the doorbell rang, jolting the moment. Emma exchanged glances with Jack and Daniel, heart pounding. What surprise awaited them on the other side? Emma's heart raced as she approached the front door, echoing the excited chatter of Sophie and the flickering tension behind her. She shared a glance with Jack, whose expression was a blend of curiosity and caution. Daniel stood slightly behind, arms crossed and eyebrows raised, clearly contemplating what might lie beyond the threshold. Do you think it's someone for Sophie? He asked, though the hope in his tone didn't quite mask his anxiety. Could be, Emma replied, but deep down, she wondered if it was someone from her past or a sign of change knocking at their door. Sophie's eyes sparkled with delight as she rushed towards the door, ready for an adventure. I'll get it, she yelled, her little feet pattering across the kitchen tiles. Jack extended his arm to stay her, chuckling. Hold on, partner. Let us not scare whoever it is with that enthusiasm. Emma smiled, watching the playful back and forth between the two. Inside, she felt a wary sense of dread mix with excitement. Could this be another blow to the fragile peace they had managed to create, or something that might draw them closer together? What if it's the cookie police? Sophie joked, bouncing on her heels. Daniel shook his head, a smirk pulling at his lips. We must have baked too many if they're here to investigate. Before he could finish the thought, Sophie flung the door wide open, revealing a figure that made Emma's stomach flip. Standing on the doorstep was Claire, her old college roommate. A loose smile spread across her face, but that was overshadowed by the tension in her posture. Emma hadn't spoken to her in years, and the sudden reappearance felt jarring. "Hey, Emma." Claire started, her voice dropping when her eyes traveled to Jack and Daniel. "Claire. Wow, it's so good to see you." Emma exclaimed, forcing a smile while the whirlwind of emotions swirled in her chest. What could this mean? Had Claire come for a friendly visit, or was there more to this unexpected reunion? "As you can see, we have a cookie party underway," Emma said, motioning to the kitchen, where plates still had remnants of the cookies they'd baked. "Care to join?" Yes." Claire's eyes darted back to Jack and Daniel, hesitation lingering on her lips. Emma caught the assessment in her gaze, and slight panic bloomed inside her. The dynamics in the room felt fragile, and she wasn't sure how Claire would fit into it. "Is everything okay?" Emma's question floated out before she could stop it. She didn't want to pry, but the anxiety gnawed at her. "Oh, it's just a long story. Can we talk?" Claire asked, her tone dropping to a whisper. Emma felt her heart constrict. What secrets lurked behind Claire's words? "Sure, we can go to the living room," Emma replied, glancing at Jack and Daniel, who exchanged worried glances. She led the way, her heart pounding. As they settled into the living room, Sophie's laughter faded into the background. Emma turned to Claire, excitement mixed with caution. "What is going on?" Claire took a deep breath, glancing around before locking eyes with Emma. "You won't believe who I just bumped into." The rest of her words hung in the air, charged with unspoken revelations. The tension shifted in the room, and Emma felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Could this news change everything, or were there still old ghosts poised to haunt her anew? Through Claire's eyes, what hidden truths awaited? Emma braced herself for a twist in her life she never saw coming. Claire leaned in closer, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I just saw Jack last week, at a tech conference. He's a different person now. He's done really well for himself." The words settled heavily in the air. Emma's heart raced like the wings of a trapped bird. "Jack? The same Jack," she stammered, barely able to comprehend what this meant for her tangled emotions. "What was he like?" Claire tilted her head, her gaze unfocused for a moment as if lost in memory. "He seemed great, Emma. Confident, successful. I didn't even recognize him at first, to be honest. But he asked about you. A lot." Emma's hands trembled slightly, her heart thumping loudly against her chest. Memories of playful laughter and childhood secrets flashed through her mind. The last time they had spoken felt like an eternity ago, but those threads of connection seemed to grow stronger with every bittersweet recollection. "Why didn't you tell me?" Emma's words slipped out sharper than she intended. She turned, noticing Daniel watching them from the kitchen doorway, brows furrowed. "I figured it would come up eventually," Claire replied, her tone placating but with a hint of nervousness. "But you've got your life now." The uncertainty in her voice echoed Emma's own hesitation about unearthing her past. "Oh. Oh no." Sophie barged into the living room, her face scrunched in urgency. "The cookies are getting cold." Babbling amid the heightened silence, Sophie rushed back into the kitchen, blissfully unaware of the emotional whirlwind. Emma glanced at Claire, who hesitated at the doorway, clearly unsure of how to pivot this conversation. "I never meant to surprise you like this," Claire said softly. "But Jack spoke so highly of you. He really cared, you know." It felt like an electric pulse zapping through Emma. Did he still? Was he reminiscing on their past? Just when she thought she could handle the weight of that thought, another voice chimed in, pulling Emma from her reverie. "Is everything okay?" Daniel's tone was gentle but inquisitive, clearly trying to piece together the shift in the atmosphere. Emma cleared her throat, finding the strength to speak through the mixed emotions. "It's just Claire was filling me in on Jack." "Him again, huh?" Daniel's expression tightened slightly. "No, it's not like that," Emma replied, her heart racing. "It's just I didn't know he was doing so well and that he was asking about me. It's complicated." "Complicated is an understatement," Daniel murmured under his breath. "Maybe I should go," Claire interjected, stepping back, her youthful exuberance now dulled under the weight of the atmosphere. "No. Stay," Emma exclaimed, reaching for Claire's arm, realizing this was a chance for clarity. "I want to hear what you have to say." "Fine, but maybe we can get back to cookies afterward," Claire said, desperately seeking comfort and normalcy, her eyes darting nervously between Emma and Daniel. The tension seemed to weave its way into Emma's thoughts like a stubborn vine. She sensed Daniel's concern but also his simmering jealousy as he slowly began to understand that Jack was not just a forgotten name. "I didn't mean to show up uninvited," Claire added hastily, sensing the shift. "I just wanted to reach out and reconnect. Life gets so chaotic." Emma nodded appreciatively, she knew that sentiment well. She had carved out a semblance of routine, but Claire's arrival cut through the layers like a sharp knife. As the three of them stood in silence, Sophie returned, triumphantly carrying a plate of cookies into the living room, oblivious to the swirling emotions. "We have more," she exclaimed, cheeks flushed with excitement. Sophie's innocence broke the tension, and Emma couldn't help but smile at her daughter. "Let us all take a cookie break. Cookies solve almost everything, right?" "Agreed." Claire laughed, the last of her tension dissolving into warmth. "I'm always on board with chocolate chips." Daniel nodded. Watching Emma, he carefully offered a half-smile, but Emma caught the flicker of uncertainty in his expression. Did he feel threatened by Jack's presence? As they settled into casual conversation about cookies, Emma felt the adrenaline begin to fade. Every munch and giggle was healing, and each shared moment felt like a small step toward clarity. "Jack always loved cookies," Emma reminisced lightly. "I remember we'd bake all the time. He thought he could eat them all himself." "Mommy, can I eat another?" Sophie asked, her eyes sparkling. "Of course. Have as many as you want." Emma grinned, feeling a fleeting sense of normalcy settling back in. "It's the perfect recipe," Jack said lightly, though Emma detected an underlying hint. "The more cookies, the better the memories." That remark lingered between them, distilling a capsule of shared past into the present. She sensed Claire's eyes flicking back and forth, absorbing the dynamics while trying to make sense of it all. Eventually, as the crumbs settled around them, Emma turned to Daniel, feeling a weight shift in the room. "About Jack maybe we can talk later. I want to figure out what this means for us." "Of course," Daniel replied, his eyes now heavy with contemplation. There was an uneasy bond forming, a desire for openness. "I want you to be happy, Emma. Just be honest with me." The air shifted with something akin to understanding, a momentary truce woven into the fabric of their bond. She caressed Sophie's hair, grounding herself in what mattered most. "Can we just enjoy the cookies?" Claire interjected cheerfully, a little forced. "Yes, let us." Emma echoed, though inside she felt the tremors of anticipation humming beneath the surface. How would this chapter unfold? What doors had she opened, and would they lead her back to herself or forge paths she couldn't have anticipated? As Sophie devoured cookie after cookie, Emma surrendered to the sweetness of the moment while tucking all her uncertain feelings into a pocket in her heart. The real journey had just begun, and as she shared laughter with her makeshift family, the greatest adventure lay ahead of her waiting just around the corner. Emma took a deep breath, knowing she would face whatever came next, but for now, she chose to embrace these moments of warmth, laughter, and the delicious chaos of life. And as those familiar scents enveloped her, she realized, the stories of the past could add flavor to the present, as long as she navigated them with an open heart. But she also knew, tomorrow would determine everything.